Okay, so peace and love to everybody. Like I said, it's Black History Month, and this month I'm going to try and release a video a day. Just expanding on history, expanding on Black history, and just a lot of things that I feel like a lot of Black people or people in general should know. To start, yes, I'm back in Ghana. I forgot something, so I came back. But right now I am in Osukasu, which is a slave, pretty much a place where they kept the Africans that later on they turned into slaves. Okay? So the first place that I'm gonna walk into right behind me is a dungeon for men. Okay? So just walk with me. I'm inside the dungeon, as you can see. Right? Now look at how huge this place is. Not big at all, right? I'm gonna take like 10 steps backwards, kind of. Right? This place right here, it kept about 280 Africans, right? 280. Maybe 20 people can fit in here comfortably, but they had about 280 people in here. Let's move forward. Then you have this room, right? Pretty small as well. This was for women. That room over there was for men. This is for women. They also had about 280 women in here. Now, you see the gutters? This was not available back then. Because they kept 280 women in here, they didn't let them use the bathroom, so they had to use the bathroom here. They could not open the doors to feed them, so they had to throw the food and the water down from there. So about 280 men here, 280 women here, right? Now, because a lot of people were sick and so on, if you look right here, see this line? Can you see me? Where's my hand? Okay. This is the ground, that line right there, which is about up to my knee, right? They had vomit, throw up, feces, urine that came up to their knees. That's how much people were in here. For about 6 months, they kept people in here, waiting for the ships to come and take them, to the Americas, South Americas, or whatever the case may be. Okay? And if you notice, the women dungeon also has the little vent on top that they throw food down for them to eat. Now, think about it. Think about this. This room has, or it could fit maybe, let me clean my camera real quick. This room could fit, that looks much better. They had about 280 people here, which means they were stuffed, they were packed. How are they all going to be able to get food that they're throwing down here? So you can think about how chaotic and how sad it was in here. So now I'm gonna walk out and pause this. This is what the outside looks like. So you can see that from here. And that is the famous staircase. If you actually look in the back of the Ghanaian 50 cedi bill, you will see this famous staircase there. The middle part is only for like the governors or like the presidents and so on. You're not really gonna see any regular person going through there. When Obama actually came here, he had to walk through the middle. Same thing for Queen Elizabeth and so on. So I'm about to walk into another dungeon, as you would call it, right? Hopefully you can see how small this is in here. The wooden furniture or whatever you see, this wasn't here before, right? This room held about 100 people. Now look at me in this room. I don't know, 10 of us in here and I'm complaining, right? Imagine 100 Africans in here, hot, sweaty, in here for months, waiting for a ship, right? Now look, up there, that's not, remember how they throw food from upstairs? They did that, but also, right above here, they had something, let me just break it down. They had a church, right? First church in Accra, as far as I've read, and as far as the tour guide gave information on, was built right above there. So they had church services held up there while you had thousands of people all in the castle dying, right? While people were still singing praise and worship and so on, people were dying downstairs. And then move on to the next one. Okay, so another dungeon. So as you can see, this holds a lot of people. It's not supposed to hold a lot of people, but they were shoving thousands of people in this whole castle. This also held 100 people. Now, let me see if I can put this video there real quick. Let's see if that can help. Okay, so I'm gonna take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 steps from the wall to wall. So you can assume maybe 1 step per person, right? So that means 6, maybe 6 times 6 times, 6 times 6. So 36 people can maybe fit in here standing up, right? They had 100 people in here, 100 to 120 or 150 or so in here. Let's move on to the next one. Right? They had women in here. The first one was for the men. Same routine, about 100 people in here, 120, 150. Right? If you look in there, for the women that said no to rape, for the women that disagreed or rebelled, they would throw them inside what's called a condemned room. A condemned room, which was way smaller than what you see here. Okay, way smaller. And of course, you can see that's also patched up. That's where they would throw the food down from. Now, when I was in the one in Senegal, they would only feed the Africans that they had. They would only feed them once a day, let them out to use the bathroom once a day. That was the one in Senegal. But this one, it doesn't look like they were even letting them use the bathroom. So now I'm gonna go upstairs and I'm gonna pause this. So I'm going upstairs. And you can see the view. It's a huge, very, very huge castle. Now, who built it? First people to build it were from Denmark. I don't know if they're called the Dens or Denmark Keys, whatever they're called, but they were the ones said to have built it. But a lot of the colonizers from different countries actually eventually took over. So I'm opening here. Right? This place gets a little bit scary. So right there is the entrance to the dungeon. No, excuse me, the condemned room. So the women that said no to rape or that rebelled, that's the staircase that goes down there. Okay? Very, very dark. They'll keep about 150 women in there in a room that really can only fit maybe 10. And whenever you were thrown in there because you said no to being raped, this is where you go to die. So they just leave you there for months until you die. And it's also said to be so dark in there. I'm gonna try and go into one. It's said to be so dark in there that since they're there for months, they will go blind. And once they go blind, they're no more of use. Which means now what they do is they will just dispose of them into the ocean that's out back. Let me close the door. Yeah, that door was kind of hard to close. I hope they don't try to. But anyway, that's the church that was upstairs when I was downstairs trying to point it out. This is said to be the first church in Accra. As you can see, you have the church, you have the cross. Hopefully this video comes out very good. You have the church, you have the cross. There was a hole here on the floor that has been covered. This is how they would monitor the slaves or the Africans that were downstairs as they were praying, as they were worshiping. The people in the church were the Europeans, the Denmarks, French, British, whatever you want to call them. There wasn't Africans up here praying, okay? They introduced Christianity to West Africa, okay? I'm not sure how old that Bible is. I don't know how long it's been there, but these are the freedom fighters that later on helped Ghana to get their independence and so on. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Sorry if my video is doing like a 360. I'm like sweating out here. Apologize for that in advance. It is a beautiful castle, but based on the history of the things that went down in here, you can't even imagine. And this is, let me turn the camera back to me. This is part of why I say history is, very, very important. If you don't really read about what your ancestors went through in places like this, you truly cannot understand. You can't understand it. People want to say, let's move on from slavery. Understood. But people don't even know about the things that went on. A lot of people know about the Holocaust more. Why am I pacing back and forth? A lot of people know more about the Holocaust than they do about the slavery. Holocaust was about, 6 million Jews from from the ship alone to the Americas, South Americas or whatever. Estimate about 2 million Africans were thrown in the water because they got sick, because it was so tight, because of diseases and so on. If you think about it, you have hundreds of people crammed in a small space. That's just a room to brew disaster, sickness, and so on. So in the water alone, you have millions, right? Estimate of about, I think, 1.2 million, all thrown in the water because they died, because they said no to rape, and so on, right? This is all historical information. You can look it up. The actual number of the people that died or were thrown in the water, you don't know, because it's not like they were keeping count. All right, let me pause and go to the next location. Okay, so I'm upstairs now, and one of the, this is like where whoever was in charge was sleeping pretty much. And if you know a lot of history, and if I say something wrong, please feel free to DM me or comments, correct me. But, so this is one of the room, this is the main room of whoever was in charge. You can see how big it is just for one person, while they have thousands of people downstairs crammed in one space. It's actually said that Queen Elizabeth, when she came here in 1961 or 1963, slept on this same bed with the same furniture here. And so based on the tour guide that I spoke to, he said that Ghanaians, or whoever's in charge now, they're trying to keep this same room up to par, because the Queen wants to come back and visit again, so they're welcoming her back so she can hopefully stay in this room. Now, tell me how much sense that makes. You're welcoming back the same people that colonized you, enslaved you, controlled you for decades and centuries, right? How much sense does that make to welcome them back? Honestly, I don't think any of them should be welcomed back into this castle. That's just my opinion. I mean, if I stole from you, if I came to your house, beat you up, shot your family members in front of you, stole from you, would you welcome me back into that house? No, right? You wouldn't welcome me back into that house. Anyway, I'll go into the next one. And just look at how beautiful it is over here. I know I'm like sweating. That's good. I'm getting a lot of vitamin D out here. But yeah, just look at how beautiful it is. Such beauty from a place where a lot of atrocities were committed. All right. So that right there is a well that they stored water for the colonizers and so on, right? I think that's in Dutch. I don't know what language that is, but whatever. This is a well that they used to store water. The water that they gave to the slaves was the water from the beach, the salt water. Okay, so now I'm heading down to what's called the condemned room. Pretty much the place where they put people that rebelled and so on. I have to walk down these stairs. So just follow me, walk with me, so we can experience this together. Right? It's very dark in there. I don't have a flashlight. I actually wish I did. So if you guys see something, better let me know. That right there is the door of no return. It's so dark in here that you can't really see anything, but people did it, so I'm gonna do it. My ancestors were here, right? Our ancestors were here, so what do I have to be afraid of? The device is too hot. What do you mean the device is too hot? So the device is too hot, my flash turned off. Now, it'll cool down in a second, but just look at how dark it is in here. I can stand up straight. So this was actually the place where they had guards. We didn't even get to the condemn room yet because it's so low that you can't stand up straight. I'm gonna try and activate my flash again. Okay, I'm back. So it was so hot that my flash decided not to work. So yeah, this is the condemn room that I'm walking into. It's very, very dark. As you can see, I can still stand up, but this is not where they were keeping the Africans or the slaves. Now here, this is where we were kept. So you see it? You can see the ceiling. Oh, my flash went off again. But I think at least you got a quick glance at it. That's how low it is, and they will keep about 100 people in there. Oh, man. Yeah, it's very, very hot in Ghana right now. Just gonna walk back out. Oof. So thank you to everyone that watched the video. Thank you to those that stayed up until the end of the video. I know it wasn't an easy video to watch, so thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. Yeah, it's not if you think it was hard to watch or stomach, imagine the people that actually lived through it. You know, even being there physically alone wasn't easy. And I've been to the one in Senegal as well as the one in Ghana. So, you know, it wasn't an easy experience, but I definitely recommend it. You know, I recommend, even if you can't go to the one in Ghana, go to the one in Senegal. They have another one in Badagry. They have it in like all over the West African regions. They have some dungeons over there. You should at least, I think every black person should at least go to one. The funny thing is there are some people that live in Ghana or Nigeria or Senegal that haven't even been there. You know, a lot of times we forget that after colonization and after the independence, or, you know, after the independence, the books that they gave us, like the history books, was mainly to teach us their history or to teach us our history by removing a lot of information. For example, Nigeria was colonized by the British. So the books that we were reading were written by the British. So they would leave things out. They would leave out slavery. They'll tell you about your independence, but they'll leave out slavery and a lot of details. So information that's right behind where we live, we couldn't even access it. But anyway, so the reason why I do these videos is just to share information, is to enlighten people, is to get us to see that we have a past, we have a history that a lot of people might not know about, because at the end of the day, you don't know what you don't know. You know, so this is just to get black people, Africans, to see that we are one, to see that we've been through a lot, to love each other, support each other. It is not in no shape or form I'm not doing it to start any kind of violence, race war, arguments, or anything like that. You know, it's easier to, I feel like it's easier to support one another and love one another when you understand and know what we have all been through. You know, I really feel like this. So that's why I share these videos and try to make these journeys or make the steps to shed light on things that people might not even know. Like, I learned a lot from being there alone. You know, just reading about it sometimes, it doesn't really do it justice. So thank you very much. Feel free to subscribe somewhere over here, and feel free to watch my next video. And don't forget, support the black business, love one another, hug one another, and peace.